Hi, folks. Welcome to today's show. I have Jim Shockey on Coast to Coast Outdoors virtual podcast today. And I'm limited for the amount of time, so I'm just going to jump right in. Jim has been an award winning outdoor writer, naturalist, wilderness outdoors guide, and outfitter for nearly 30 years. Plus, he has been on numerous outdoor shows with his TV show. And without further ado, I am going to bring Jim and welcome him to the show. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you, Jim. It's I know we've got a limited amount of time, obviously, so I'm going to jump right into things. Many in the outdoor world would say that you influenced the way hunting is portrayed in regards to the development of the sport and new techniques. Would you agree with that?
I try not to judge anybody, including myself, but I've done my best to try and change the perspective of non-hunters about what hunting is and who hunters are, and hopefully my epitaph someday will be that I made a positive difference on the opinion of those non-hunters about hunters and hunting. So I've done my best. That's all I can tell you.
Well, you know what? You've done tremendous because there's a lot out there, Jim, that don't like what we do, obviously, and that you being so outspoken and painting a vision there of conservation. I believe you were quoted there as saying hunting is conservation at one point throughout a few articles that I've read previously.
Yeah, it is 100%. And here in Canada, we're kind of spoiled. We have a great management strategy. It's biologically based. It's been our North American model since Roosevelt, really, President Roosevelt. So we're spoiled here, but the rest of the world, it is such an important, vital part. We've already played our vital part here in North America. Now we're sustaining it. In other parts of the world, conservation with hunting as a tool is the only hope for the wildlife. And I know there's people that find it counterintuitive. How do you hunt an animal to save it? But it's the reality, regardless of if it fits in somebody's ideology or not. It is the only hope for the wildlife around the world, hunting as a conservation tool.
And that's a fact. I know it helps with management of overpopulations and so forth. And us as hunters and that we play a pivotal role in that, obviously. And it's huge to see people like yourself, Jim, very outspoken when it comes to educating people on that the fact that we do need the hunting, obviously. Now I know, Jim, you've got your hunting show, and that airs on the Sportsman Channel, correct?
In Canada, yeah, we've got two shows. We've got Hunting Adventures, that's been airing for 17 years, and we've got Uncharted Yukon. That's been airing for Uncharted Yukon 2 years. It was a spin-off of Uncharted that was 5 years before that, which was a spin-off of The Professionals, which was 4 years before Uncharted. I think in Canada on the Sportsman's Network, they're playing our reruns right now that have aired in the States. I wasn't allowed for several years to air our programming in Canada. Believe it or not, I applied for a CRTC number to be able to air our shows in Canada, and they said no, it's not a Canadian production. We're sitting in our edit suite, one of our two edit suites, the other one's in Vancouver. I'm Canadian as you get. It's bizarre. We were just dealing with a little bit of an anti-venom, I would say somebody along the line just filed our application. But regardless of all that, that's sort of the rest of the story. But we are on the Sportsman's Network. I believe our new programming should start to air pretty quick on Uncharted Yukon, July 1st probably, so you won't have to watch reruns. But both those shows, this will be the last year for those shows Hunting Adventures has been going for 17 years now, down the States mostly, and syndicated around the world.
Wow.
But I gave notice at the end of this year is the last of those shows. We have a new show coming out called
wow.
Shock Therapy, and hopefully that'll be airing as of January 1st on the Sportsman's Network as well here in Canada.
Jeez, that's amazing. 17 years is a long-standing run for any TV show, Jim.
Yeah, I think Reach for the Top beat us, and probably you're too young to remember that show, but and probably MASH, but there's not many shows.
I remember MASH. Yeah.
Yeah, there's not many shows that have been on air for as long as ours.
And Jim, you've got the whole family helping with the production of your shows. Obviously, I know your son. He does a lot of your editing. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you do partner with Eva every now and then.
Yeah, Evie, she came out of university and decided she wanted to learn how to hunt, and she was sincere about it, and she truly is a hunter. Our son always was a hunter, not so much anymore because we've got him so handcuffed in the edit suite, but he doesn't do much with the actual editing anymore. He's more of the producer. So
Okay.
He oversees all of our productions, and he has, I would say, single-handedly changed or raised the bar for outdoor programming. It's his vision that makes our shows what they are. Of course, Evie's a great on-screen talent. Bran is an amazing off-screen talent, pulling all the puppet strings on Evie and I to make us dance like we should be.
That's amazing. Now I know with some of your hunts, Jim, you travel. Geez, I don't know how many countries you've been to, but it's had to be a lot. Obviously, how do you cope with being away from family sometimes for as long as you are? I know it kind of plays into the COVID situation that we're currently having now, but just give our viewers a little rundown there on how you managed to cope with that, Jim.
Well, I mean, first I'll put it in perspective. I spent the last 20 years traveling somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 days a year. So I think it averaged to 306 days a year over those 20 years. Before that, I was probably on the road 200 days a year for the last, the 15 years before that. So over that pretty well was the last 40 years of my life. The most important thing for me is Nana Weezy, my wife, Louise. We've been married 35 years now, and she is a very strong, independent, confident woman. She knows that when I'm out there, I'm not chasing around at nightclubs. I'm in real crappy places in the middle of nowhere, and maybe there might be a beer around, but I'm a hunter. That's what I do, is I go hunting there. So she was never worried about that. That's respect in our relationship that we have for each other. So she, and she told me, honestly, when I'm at home, I take a lot of space in the room. And she wanted to make sure that she had all kinds of time for her kids, and she didn't need a third kid, which would have been me. So it worked for us. Now, I did call her every single day on the satellite telephone. Thank goodness for satellite telephones. They were basically invented about the same year I started the international travel, and even domestic in North America. So I call her every day, no matter where I was, what I'm doing. Now that's all slowed down. The last 18 months has been the longest I've been at home, and this COVID thing, for absolute sure, has been, kept me at home longer than I've ever been at home before.
Jeez, that's you know what, a lot of our viewers, I'm sure, have wondered about that situation, Jim, and now that hear from the man himself gives them an idea, because I know a lot of transient workers and that as well that watch your shows and that, and they deal with stresses on their own, just being away from home. So to hear how you deal with that is huge to those that asked the question, because I had some people ask me questions prior to try to get them asked on the show, obviously.
Yeah. Well, make no mistake, there's sacrifices involved to live the life that I've lived, but it was a case of my wife, Louise, my soulmate. She would never try and change me because it's who I am. I would have been an explorer back in the day. I love to see what's over the next hill, across the next river, on the other side of the ocean. I want to know all those things, and to keep me at home, wouldn't have worked. I mean, I'm just not a 9 to 5 guy. I'll work 20 hours a day, so I don't have to work 9 to 5, and always have. People ask all the time, how do you get to do what you get to do? And I say, real simple, whatever age you are, start working and don't stop until you're my age. And that means every single day. There's no holidays. There's no big fancy trucks. And later on, maybe if you do well, you can afford to buy a decent vehicle. But it's a love of a lifestyle, and it's an exercise in desire. So whatever the limit of your desire is, that's as far as you'll ever get. For me, my desire is limitless when it comes to exploring the world and hunting, learning. I want to know what's going on in these far-flung places on the conservation and in our back 40, both. I love it. I love it. I sat outside last night with Louise and had a glass of wine, and just a giant of a black bear walked right across our field down below us. I loved it. I can be sitting in, I don't care if it's Tajikistan and watch a Marco Polo. I wouldn't be any more excited than what I saw there today. So it's who I was. It's who I was, and you have to really determine that before you choose that pathway that you're going to stay on it all in. That's who you are, and that's who I was. So it's not for everybody. Believe me, like I say, there's sacrifices.
There sure is. Now, with the TV show and that, Jim, what would be the most memorable hunt, and what species? And I'm going to ask the question: what TV show or what episode, maybe if you can recall, did it air on?
I never got our TV shows on TV ever. I think I get it now on the Sportsman Channel, but I don't watch them. So I couldn't tell you what show. I could never attach it to a show. I can tell you that the most memorable hunts for me are always not about the species, not about world's records. They're about family. So the most memorable hunts for me, my father's last whitetail hunt. I can right now picture it. Eva's first bear hunt. Our son, when I took him to Africa and he got a giant crocodile. Those are memories for me. My father-in-law, Len, our son-in-law, Tim, when he got the giant moose that I should have got 2 years ago. Those are the hunts that mean something to me. My cousin Guy, hunting with him, my cousin Rich. These are, I don't care. The biggest world's record in the world can walk across in front of me. I could care less. It wouldn't mean as much as a hunt with my family member, whoever that is, and friends too. Rather than the world's record. If I had to miss one of those hunts, there's no question it wouldn't be. I would. It's not even a choice. Family always is above everything else when it comes to memorable hunts. And there's lots. As far as TV show goes, we've aired many, many, many shows of our families, family members hunting. And some of our best shows, I think, are the hilarious Hal and Len, my father and father-in-law, their hunts.
I remember one of those episodes.
Yeah, they're fun, and people enjoy that, and those are the most memorable for me.
You know what? I couldn't agree more, Jim. It's 2016. My brother got picked here in Nova Scotia for moose hunt, and it leaves memories that last a lifetime. I'll tell you that for sure. Now, Jim, I know you've got the outfitting businesses. Now, let's touch base on that. I think there's 2 or 3 that you own. There may be more, but I've read that there's the most memorable one would be the Rogue River Outfitting that you owned up in the Yukon territory as well. What's your take on that? What would be the biggest moose that you or somebody at the camp may have ever taken from that? Because I know a lot of viewers are interested in your guiding aspect, obviously.
Yeah. We have 3 outfitting territories. My first outfitting territory was Vancouver Island for black bears, and I think we've owned that now for 25 years. In fact, this would have been the 26th season if it was going to happen. And then we've got Saskatchewan, our Canadian Whitetail Adventures as well. We've got a lodge out there and 40 deer tags but I've actually closed that down for the last 6 years. I think the only people who have hunted there are Tim and Eva a couple of times. We got a few bad winters. 2007, deer were recovering. 2013 and 14 were horrible winters, and the wolves all came down. We're not allowed to shoot wolves. They have to be trapped only, and the trappers, of course, there's no money in it, so they're not trapping them. So we'd see packs of 30 wolves, and 30 wolves killing one deer each a week. You do the math on that. So I shut all that down for now. Then we have our Rogue River opening territory up in the Yukon. That's our flagship. That's 7.5 million acres, 12,000 square miles. And there's not a single road in that entire area. That's only our camps, and no houses, no people, just us in the late fall season, or in the September and October when we hunt there. I love it. It's my favorite place to hunt. Moose are my favorite big game animal to hunt. To where they live, how big they are, how magnificent, how spectacular the place is. As I said, they're how remote. It's the last remotest wilderness left in this world. Siberia is like Grand Central Station compared to our Yukon area. And when you see a moose there, it's highly probable that it's never seen a hunter before or a human being. That's why they'll come in, and once they, they'll and once they know you're not a cow, if you were using a cow call, or a bull, if you were using a bull grunt to bring them in, they go, okay, fine, whatever. I'll just do it with you. What I was planning to do with what was calling. So it's I love the Yukon. The grizzly bears up there, the sheep, the mountain caribou are spectacular. And truly, I don't think there's a more beautiful place in the world. I've been to a lot of places, but there's one valley not too far from my camp that I hunt in and have for the last 10 years that I truly believe is the most beautiful place in the world. It's a spiritual place. And the outdoors are our cathedrals as hunters anyway, but to sit on that knob and look 30 miles in each direction and across a 3-mile wide flat valley that, with mountain ranges cutting off both sides, and be able to glass moose that have never seen human beings, and mountain caribou, wolves, grizzly bears at any time. Sheep are a little harder, but I love it up there. The Yukon is awesome.
Jim, or at your guiding outfit there in the Yukon, is it strictly moose you guide for, or is there grizzlies as well, or any other species, or is it?
Yeah, we guide for moose predominantly. I think we take 42 moose hunters a year. Okay. 11 Yukon moose, so they're the biggest. You asked me earlier what sizes they're. We've taken them right up to 78 inches wide. Wow. We found a dead one that was 83 inches wide. It was a winter kill, wolf kill. But we've taken them the top 10 in the Boone and Crockett record book there, and we don't use airplanes to find them. It's purely what's there is what's there. If we used airplanes to look for them, it's legal if you wait 48 hours before you hunt them. I'm pretty sure we'd find some even bigger moose. But anyway, you asked about the species. We have the Alaskan Yukon moose, mountain caribou. We have some of the best mountain caribou hunting in the world there. We also have the Dall sheep and the stone sheep and the Fannin sheep. So the white sheep, the darker sheep, dark gray, and then the saddles, the gray saddles are the Fannin sheep. We've got wolves, obviously, and what did I miss there? Got to be missing it. Grizzly bear and black bear too. But grizzly bear, fabulous grizzly bear. One of the highest. In fact, I think it's the highest quota in the Yukon. Same with our moose, are the highest quota of moose, and arguably the caribou are right up there too.
That's interesting, because I know there's a lot there. I've got a couple of viewer comments, Jim, and I don't know if you mind answering one or two while we got time here.
Yeah.
Barry Fordham, I know that you have a certain amount of time, but if you could ask Jim what he thinks of the new gun laws in a nutshell, if that's possible. I personally disagree with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's here's the thing: the people in the and we have lots of friends. They don't own guns; they're non-hunters, and their perspective is, why would anybody want to have a gun? So they don't see why we should own assault rifles. I had a big conversation with a CEO of a bank, the other day, or a savings credit union, and they don't understand. I said to him, "Well, wait a minute, how many cars do you have?" He said, "Well, I've got 3." And I said, "Well, am I telling you that you can't collect cars? What's the difference?" And he said, "Well, cars don't kill people." I said, "Like, really? Cars don't kill people? Well, neither do my guns in the safe, right? If your car in the garage doesn't kill people, neither does my gun." But back to the question, here's the problem with it. I'm going to release a video here pretty quick in the next couple of days. My double action or double rifle that I use in Africa, so it's a break action rifle, 600 Nitro Express. It's about a $35,000 US gun. I mean, it's a collectible gun. It's been used in Africa for 100 years. It's 2 great big giant bullets that you have to put down, or cartridges, and then click it, boom, boom, and then unclick it, put 2 more down. This has been banned. This is now an illegal gun that our prime minister says he's going to buy back. Right? I'm not going to sell it for any less than $35,000 US if he's going to buy it. I don't want to sell it, but if he's forcing me to, because he's taken it from being a perfectly legal gun everywhere around the world, almost everywhere, and used around the world. Today, someone's using it over in Africa, I'll guarantee it, for hunting. Yeah. He's going to take that away from me to make Canada safer. And it's bizarre. I mean, it's got Turkish walnut stock. It's how in any possible stretch of the imagination, besides the fact that cartridges are about $100 each, how can this be, an assault rifle? And that's what he's spinning it as, that this is assault rifles. We're making Canada safer. So these people I talked to the other day that don't have guns, they didn't know that. They think that he's banned machine guns. A gangster, they think that's, why do you have to have those? I don't have to have those. Personally, I don't have one of those. And I'm not allowed because I don't have a prohibited license or tag on my FAC or PAL, whatever they're calling it nowadays.
Yeah, it's so, PAL.
Yeah. I mean, if somebody wants one, that's fine. They're so restricted, and those people are so vetted that his car in his garage has got a much higher probability of killing somebody someday than their machine guns and the guys that have the prohibited licenses to own those kind of guns, because someone's going to steal his car someday and drive over a pedestrian. There's higher odds. How many people have been killed by an assault rifle in Canada?
Yeah, the numbers are very low on anything.
The number is 0.
Oh.
Now, if he keeps banning guns of every description, then he makes everything an assault rifle instead of including my double action gun. So now he can say, well, somebody got killed with a double barrel gun sometime in the past.
And I know shotguns as well were affected.
Yeah, but the bottom line is, it's hunting rifles, and he's also banned another rifle of mine, a 460 Weatherby. It's a bolt action hunting rifle. It's a 460 Weatherby. I've used it in Africa many times, and people still use it all day long in Africa. And he's banned it, saying it's an assault rifle. It's not a hunting rifle. And then the interesting thing was he said that we're banning all these rifles that are not suitable for hunting, but if you're a First Nations member, you can use them for hunting. So are they for hunting or are they for hunting? Well, I assure you they're for hunting, because I have 2 of them that are banned now, that went from being perfectly legal to being prohibited, like a bazooka, like a rocket launcher, like a...
We went from legally owned gun owners overnight to paperwork criminals with the stroke.
Well, he's done it if we don't turn him in, right? I mean, and if he's not going to pay me for my rifles, not that I want him to pay me, but like, what? And he'll never get that passed in a million years. So he's created a law that is, and he didn't. The biggest problem with it was there was no discussion on the House of Commons floor. There was no discussion, or they would know. He banned one of my air guns. It's an air gun. It's a pellet gun. I grew up shooting a pellet gun as a kid. It's an air gun, and he banned it. Like, how can that be? It's an air gun, right? So the thing is, back to the question that your viewer asked, how do I feel about it? I feel that the democratic process in our country was bypassed in this particular instance with using a order in council with him and his henchmen in the back room. And I think it's a disingenuous service to the Canadians that that he's passing this off as making our country safer, when in fact it's doing nothing for that. He doesn't want to spend the money on actually making Canada safer. Get the guns out of the hands of the criminals.
You got
That would be a great step, Mr. Trudeau.
It sure would. And I know, Jim, I've got you here for maybe another 6 minutes because we're on a time restraint, obviously. I wanted to touch base with you on the Hand of Man Museum, obviously. Tell us a little bit about that, and how did you amass so many artifacts in that museum? It amazes me because I've seen the virtual tours that you've given on Instagram and your social media feeds. And it's wow. I know I was trying to get out there later this year, but COVID actually kind of prohibited that, obviously. And do people need to purchase tickets first before visiting, or how does that work, Jim? Can they just show up and purchase a pass?
It's called the Hand of Man Museum of Natural History, Cultural Arts, and Conservation. So it's not a hunting museum. It's a conservation museum that touches on hunting, absolutely. You asked how I amassed that much. I started collecting when I was 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Seashells and insects and rifle cartridges. I mean, that's my diaries from back when I was 10 years old weren't about girls. They were about collecting a new cartridge, whatever, 3040 Krag, some crazy, bizarre, obsolete cartridge. So I started collecting all these things way back then. And by the way, for anyone that wants to report me that I've got cartridges on display here, no, I don't. These are at home. But there is the other collections that I've, my knife collection, of course, all the animals that I've collected around the world, the masks, the carvings, the costumes from everywhere around the world, the natural history. There's a full skeleton of a woolly mammoth in the museum. There's a full cave bear skeleton, a full woolly rhino skeleton. That those are 20,000 years old. They're pre-ice age. There's dinosaur bone. They're an Apatosaurus that's 5 feet tall. It's a thigh bone, or femur, and these are all things that I've gathered in my travels over the last basically half a century. Look at the gray hairs here. I'm getting old. I've been doing this for a long, long time, and Louise was getting tired of all this stuff stacked everywhere at home. And nor do I believe in hoarding. I'm not to have all my little things in my little room and only I get to look at them. I had the joy of discovering them, of finding these pieces and gathering them together. So they should be for everybody else. And we never truly own anything anyway. We're stewards of whatever we own while we own it, while we're alive, but then it passes on. So I wanted to put all of the things that I've gathered together in one place under one roof and leave that as a legacy for the public, for everybody. And back to your question about the tickets, it's donation only. So you can come in and if you like it, donate. If you didn't like it, don't. I didn't ask you for money. It's we get about 1 in 1,000 people that, of course, has an ideological issue with the mounted animals, because there is a fair extensive collection of mounted animals here, and we get about 1 in 1,000 that's working out too, because we get over 1,000 visitors a month when COVID wasn't on. Now, once we open up for the summer, I suspect that number will be higher, depending on if people are traveling, but it'll come back. But they're about 1 in 1,000 has an issue. They just have we call it tunnel vision. So they look at the world like this, and they build a fence around their vision so that like a wall, so that no new ideas come in. And that's, you can see them. Everybody else that comes through, they walk out thrilled and amazed and more knowledgeable about conservation, particularly, because that's the big message. If we don't do something, we talked about it earlier, around the world about the wildlife species, including here in North America, we don't protect that, and not by being protectionist. We can't preserve something, but you can certainly manage something, and you can manage it in a sustainable way. There's so many of us, 7.5 billion of us in this world, so we have to learn to manage and look at these wildlife animals as a renewable resource, because you can't protect it. People are starving around the world. They're going to kill everything. They don't care about what we think about them. So give them money instead. Pretty
And
simple.
it's interesting you should say 1 in 1,000, Jim, because I know when we've done programs with organizations I'm with taxidermy, obviously, it, some of the uneducated to what we do as outdoor enthusiasts, hunters, conservationists, when you explain to them what transpired and the monies that go into conservation measures, well, I'm not saying you can change everybody, but when you educate, it changes the perspective of a lot that I've come across anyway, in regards to that.
Of course, but people are tired of being handed a line of bull crap. I mean, they call it fake news, and that's a term I don't like to use. But the reality is there is very few journalists nowadays, and very few outlets for journalists that want to tell both sides of the story, because it's a business for these news agencies. They want to appeal to the left, they want to appeal to the right. So you don't actually get a balanced news from anywhere nowadays. So people want to know the truth. They're tired of being just fed like they're idiots. They don't know any better, that you're lying to them. There can only be one side to the story. So when they come into this museum, they may come in leaning towards anti-hunting,
Mm-hmm.
but when they leave, they're leaning towards pro-hunting, because we've educated them and they realize I'm not lying to them. I'm telling them the truth. This is feet on the ground. This is the facts of the matter in these various places about this species or that species, about this country, about this people, how they manage their wildlife. It's the truth. I'm not a reporter sitting in an ivory tower, typing on a computer and Googling everything. I've been there. I've walked the walk. I know what's happening there. So I'm telling you, this is the truth. I'm just the messenger. And in that truth, I think comes a certain respect for my opinions or my vision, my insight. So they listen. And I think people are really happy to be told and educated about the truth. And that's what we tell here. That's the conservation side of this museum. I think every single community, we've got 70,000 people here in this community, the greater area. And, there's a fair few tourists coming through, but every community of that size should have one of these museums. I will guarantee you that we wouldn't have this anti-hunting sentiment, because that 1 in 1,000 that really gets on their soapbox, the tubular vision people, they wouldn't have an audience. The people would just go, no, they're not telling the truth, right? If we had one of these museums everywhere across Canada, I'd be happy to open one up in every community across Canada. I'd need 50 years for each one. So, if we open up 100, how long do I have to live?
Maybe the kids will carry it on, Jim, in different areas across Canada.
Yeah, we actually looked at opening up another one, actually, because I do have a lot more of the wildlife species. And here's the thing: many people have collections of animals that they've mounted over the years that they're getting older. And do their kids want those animals? What are they going to do with them? They had the joy and the wonder of finding them and exploring hunting, but what do they do with them now? So I think I talked to a guy today from Alberta, and he's got enough to make an entire museum. But it can't be just wildlife. That can only be a 30% component of it. You've got to have the natural history and the cultural arts. And then the conservation has to be the key, not the hunting.
Well, that's, you know what, Jim, I couldn't agree more on that. I know I had two other questions come in from viewers, and I don't know if there's time there. I think
if you can go ahead and ask me. I happen to know the boss around here, so I can, if he gives me half, I'll be able to stand my ground.
Aspen Grove Outdoors. If there's time, I'm just wondering what made you get started in the hunting industry, and what gave you a passion for your lifestyle, or for the lifestyle. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I was born a hunter. My earliest memories, I was 2 years old, collecting beetle bugs and earthworms. I was fascinated, turning over bricks and finding these. I mean, that was my earliest memory. I honestly think I was 2 years old, barely walking. And I've always been, I love the outdoors. I love the wildlands, the animals. I love seeing them. I love learning about them. So, I think for me, it was innate. I think for many people, it's actually innate. They may be able to find a isolated gene someday that'll prove that it's a hunting gene. So you are what you are, and Now, God forbid that you attack me because I'm just who I am. I'm just, this is how I identify as a hunter, right? So they'll probably find that gene someday. I believe it's innate. Now, people can't always explore that desire to be in the outdoors. They're born in a big city, downtown New York City, on what's one of Fifth Avenue or whatever, Saks, I don't know. They don't have a chance to go be who they really are. So I feel for those people, because who they are, they can't be. They have to be somebody different living in their city. And I think historically, it's probably provable that there was 10% of the population always were hunters, and 90% were support for the hunters. We went and got the food back 10,000 years ago. Before we turned into agrarian cultures, we hunted and gathered our food. So there would be some that were hunters, like we all are, 10%. And of that 10%, I suspect, there's 1% were really, really good at it, and 1% was really crappy at it, even of the 10%. But the rest of the people were support staff. We need basket makers. Somebody's got to nap the flint for us. I don't know what they did, but I think you're born with it. And I know I was born with it for sure. So it's not about what gave me the passion. I think I was born with that passion. I may be a little bit more obsessive than the average person about that passion. I've spent my life doing it. But like I say, I was born being a hunter.
Jeez. You know what, Jim? It's great to hear you answer the questions, because a lot of people, I know there's a lot of children here. I see my phone lighting up, and my buddy's little fella there messaged and said, "Wow, you got Jim on the show." So you have a lot of youth as well that follow what you do, and someday they hope to follow into your footsteps. Barry has asked another question here, and I'm sure you probably read it here. What does he think is the answer of what is going to take to get the outdoors people to unite in a strong, united voice? We are our own worst enemy because we disagree so much, which is what the government likes. What would you say, Jim, or give a perspective maybe on what it would take for a lot of organizations to unite on the same home to better fight for what we do?
Yeah, it depends on how important it is to everybody, to hunters. Like I know that if I vote, use my vote because I want an extra $1 an hour for the minimum wage, or I want free something or other, or I want an extra day off a week. If I vote for a party because of that, and that means the vote goes against the party that is proactive in preserving my right to be able to go into the outdoors and do what I'm passionate about, hunt and fish. If I squander that vote to vote for that free extra day or extra hour, as opposed to voting for the party that has come out on their platform and said, we will rescind this ridiculous order in council that our prime minister has just passed. Like I have difficulty understanding how somebody can put that extra day, off a week for that, because that party is promising them the world, as opposed to voting for the party that will protect what they love to do with that day off. So I think until people, and I'm talking about hunters, until we're all in, until we truly are faced with the loss of what we love, and loss being it, the government taking it away from us because of lobby groups that are ideologues that believe that we're bloodthirsty killers and have no higher sensibilities, and they convince people that that's what they are with the popular press, the mainstream media that goes right along with those stereotypes. But until all hunters realize that they're going to lose it, they're going to lose what they love to do unless they forget about that extra $1 an hour in the minimum wage, unless they forget about, there's, I think unions are a very important thing, but sometimes they tell you who to vote for. But so do you vote for what your union tells you to vote for, or do you vote for the party that will protect what you love to do. They're not going to destroy your lifestyle. But the other party that wants to take away that lifestyle, yeah, they'll destroy it. So until, like I say, until all of us get smart and start realizing that, let's vote for what's important to us. Um, I don't know that we'll ever get together. The egos, hunting is, it's like, he poached it. He did. There's no way he did it himself. It's like, oh my goodness sakes. We hear these stories all the time. The rumors being spread by jealous. I mean, we're hunters. I guess we're a little jealous and envious as a group. And so I don't know, until we're all faced with losing what we love, I don't know that we'll ever get together. Unfortunately, it's really sad. Or, or we find a leader that, is strong enough to unite us all and just say, vote this way, do this, because that's the only way we're going to actually protect what we love, and the only way we're going to change these draconian laws that are being thrown at us without even debate on the floor of in the Parliament buildings. So yeah, I'm hopeful. I wish it wouldn't have to come down to that, where we're going to lose everything before everybody will say, "Oh, whoa, wait a minute, I'm going to vote for these guys," and let's, protect what, who we are, what we love, our lifestyle.
And that's the big thing. If we don't stick together as one, we're going to continue to lose. And make your vote count to support what we do as outdoors people. Because if not, we're just going to continue down that road of destruction that's currently taking place, and it's not something any of us, Jim, want to see, yourself included, obviously. So if we can unite on that home front, we can we may be able to shake things up a bit to see better change, obviously.
I'll just give you something to think about here before I go. The hunters, the politicians, and I've talked to them. I've gone to Ottawa and tried to meet with the Liberals. They won't even talk to me. But Conservatives, they talk to me. And they said, why would we cater to the hunters? They never vote. The outdoorsmen never vote. We just kind of live and let live, and we do our thing, and but we don't vote. And that's the truth. And if we all banded together as a bloc and voted to protect our way of life, vote for the party that has said in their platform will protect our way of life, we actually can determine who wins the vote. We can determine, there's enough of us that if we voted together as a bloc, wherever we are, whatever constituency we're in across Canada, if we voted together as a bloc, we would determine who wins the election every single time. And we would determine that locally at our municipal level, provincially, territorially, and federally, because we are the biggest non-voting bloc of citizens of Canada, of all of them. There's nobody else has that like-minded outdoor, connection that we all have to each other. And if we voted as a bloc, we would never have to worry about these guns being taken away. We'd never have to worry about our hunting rights being taken away. We'd never have to worry about being vilified and marginalized in the popular press, the mainstream media, or by our own government. We would actually determine who wins the election. And believe me, they would start to listen to us at that point. So just one final thing to everybody, think about that. If we voted together, if, like you said, if we joined and became one force with one voice, speaking on behalf of all hunters, we would determine the elections in Canada. There's enough of us.
For sure. And Jim, that is our their final note, I guess, for us on this this podcast of Coast to Coast Outdoors, episode 11. And you know what, Jim? Again, I appreciate the time that you've allotted us. You've actually went above and beyond the allotted time for us. So I appreciate that. Our viewers appreciate you engaging with them as well. Lots of comments rolling in as well. So you know what, Jim? What you're doing, in my eyes and many others, obviously, from kids that watch your show to full-grown adults, keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on pushing the political side of things to do what you can, voice your concerns, because it does not go unnoticed, to be quite honest. It's tremendous work. Everything from your TV shows to your outfitting businesses, to your museum that you currently hold. It's great. And again, I appreciate you and your staff for everything you did to come on the show here. And one note here, Jim, that I'll say, I do have something there that I will get Todd maybe via email to send me your information. I think it may be worthy of your museum more so than me having it. It's a squid jig. I don't have it here now, but it's a squid jig, but it sits in a block of wood that was hand carved. Uh, I picked it up here in Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and like I've known fishermen that are in their late 80s, early 90s that never seen one of these before. So I think it's worthy there rather than me sit on it and have it collecting dust. I think it's worthy for your museum, and I'll be sending it out to you.
Beautiful. Well, it's appreciated. Anything like that is always appreciated here. So I'll look forward to receiving it and looking forward to installing it in a perfect place in the fishing section of our museum, which we have a big one of.
Perfect. Well, Jim, again, on behalf of myself, Jeff McNeil, and Coast to Coast Outdoors, thanks for joining the podcast. Best of luck on all your hunting adventures, and I'm sure I'll get out to the museum sooner than later after COVID passes.
Perfect. Look forward to having you here.
All right, Jim. Thanks again. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You betcha. Take care.
Bye bye. So, folks, there you have it. We've had Jim Shockey on Coast to Coast Outdoors, episode 11. So, with that, that concludes our broadcast for today. Hope everyone enjoyed, and stay safe. Happy hunting, happy fishing, and all the best.